It's clear. If you don't do this, you will. I've put together 3 amazing retention tips that are absolutely unavoidable so that you, as an owner or a manager, can keep quality staff and build that momentum and keep the business going, not just to survive, but to thrive. The cafe biz relies heavily on teams of people to fulfill the orders of customers who are waiting. One sad truth is that cafes very rarely have long-term teams of people who build that stronghold for staff culture. As a result, the products and services the customers receive is inconsistent and sometimes subpar. With this, there is a constant revolving door effect regarding staff turnover. New staff come on board, they receive the training only to stay for a limited time, then they leave, leaving the owner or manager to start the cycle all over again. There's no momentum built. Simultaneously, as customers become dissatisfied with the inconsistent products and services they are receiving, they too follow that pattern and find alternatives for their coffee and breakfasts. This situation often leaves businesses destitute, but for me, there are some really simple solutions. I said simple, not easy. But before we get going, I want you to know one really important detail that is often overlooked when it comes to staff retention, and it's crucial. There's one missing step to the hiring process that is so often overlooked. I cannot emphasize as to how important this step is. It's right at the start of the hiring process, and no, it's not written on any resume or CV. I'm going to give you that detail later on in the video, but now let's dive deep into the problems that come with having that revolving door and how you can solve them with 3 amazing steps. Let's paint a picture first. In the world of hospitality and just about every other industry, staff shortages are rife, and this is a global issue. For cafes, this could be in part by the huge amounts of cafes that are opening up around the country. In 2021, it was actually 5 cafes per day that were opening up. This is just to demonstrate the baseline culture for Australia and in many other countries globally who love coffee, brunch, breakfast, those kinds of things, and what people seem to think that we need more of in society. Not to mention, they're trying to grab their piece of the Australian pie. An IBIS World industry report indicates that within the next 5 years, it estimates a growth in the cafe industry of 4.1%. This industry is worth $10 billion and 4.1% for every subsequent year for the next 5 years. Holy cow! So who's going to do the servicing for these millions of coffees for those raving coffee enthusiasts and fans around the country? That leads us to today's problem, which is to keep your staff engaged, how to find quality staff, and build a strong, formidable team in the long run. Don't forget to stick around for that one hidden step at the start of the hiring process. Staff retention is an almost ever-present challenge because there is seemingly an unlimited amount of cafes for staff to work at. If they don't like where they are, they can quite easily sidestep and move into another cafe space to gain employment. This is a typical short-term employment cycle I've witnessed for decades. A staff member will join a new workspace. They've got lots of enthusiasm, all these ideas are just flowing out of them, only to be quickly deflated when their needs aren't being met. These are intrinsic to them and not always known. There are various parts to this cycle. Workload versus pay rate, the working conditions such as the leadership model, the other staff members in the team, as I said, the workload, the type of customers that they're dealing with and those interactions that they have, and of course, the efficiency and organization of the business. When these intrinsic and sometimes unconscious needs aren't being met, the enthusiasm that they once had deflates, it becomes apathy and sometimes even resentment. With this in mind, a great way to prevent that cycle is by building a great working relationship with your staff. Create the foundations that build trust in a professional sense so that they can rely on you to do the right thing by them in employment and those intrinsic needs. So as long as they're within the terms and conditions of a thriving business, and so that you can get the best out of them so that they can service those customers effectively. With the staff shortage seemingly always present, especially in the hospitality industry, there has been an influx of new blood into the industry. These people need training. They require training in order to thrive. They may have had different jobs where they were either abused for time, underpaid, not trained, not appreciated, and that can put their mindset in a negative sense for every subsequent employer. Building that trust, building that connection with your staff, albeit quite energy consuming, is well worth, because that diamond in the rough that you've seen, that glimmer of hope, that potential could turn into be the leader of the next generation for your business. They could gain the skills that you've got in management, in leadership, in costs, in running a business, and allow you the time and personal leverage to do other things like diversify your business profile. Now, all this is great in theory, but without this one key step during the hiring process, it's all probably going to go to waste. And that revolving door analogy I used is really likely to happen. It's the vetting process. Because we're in a staff shortage and we're desperate to fill the space on the coffee machine, almost anyone that's got any form of experience will do. This is the attitude I've seen time and time again. I see it in the kitchen, I see it on the front of house. Owners, managers, please don't do this. If you hire wrong, it turns into a very toxic situation where the people who are currently employed are wondering, why is this person who's clearly not pulling their weight, paying their dues, is getting away with it? And it's purely because of a scarcity mindset around the staff shortage. Rather than that, vet your new staff, put them through some paces, test their skills, encourage them to spend an hour or two proving to you that they've got what it takes when it's a busy time period. Whatever it is that they say they can do on their CV, you want to see that in real life so that you've got a baseline understanding of what they can actually do. It's not just a conversation about competency that you're after, it's seeing it in front of your eyes. And when you see that the pressure's on them, they might feel nervous, they want to do a great job, but maybe they just don't mentally have the capacity to deal with stress in the moment. You can ascertain that situation and then you can train and plan accordingly for it. If you know that they're a team player and that their intentions are great and they're willing to put their best self forward despite knowing that they lack some skill, but they're a sponge and they're willing to learn, these are the kinds of people you want in your business. Time and time again, I've seen people put in positions of autonomy because they can take care of the baseline level of administration, but they're terrible at customer service, terrible at public relations, terrible at upsells, terrible at all the things that give those customers the feedback that they should come back day in, day out and spend more dollars with you. I see this to the detriment of the business. This feeds into the culture of the business and it leaves people who are doing the work. If you've ever heard of the 80-20 rule, what that means is that 20% of your workers that are employed by you will do 80% of the revenue producing. Now, if you're one of those kinds of people who likes to work hard and likes to get the job done, that is really annoying to see these lazy people screwing around and getting away with it. Are you really willing to bring these kinds of people just because there's a staff shortage? I'm sorry to be a bit over direct in my delivery here, but it's such a problem that people are allowed to get away with it. They show up when the boss is there and they pretend to do a good job. They go over the top, but when the boss is away, they're lax, they're lazy, they don't quite get the job done. This is what I call taking advantage, and it quite frankly is not on. You've got to seek these people out by being present every single day and support them and encourage them to grow and to develop. Maybe they're uninspired because the work might be mundane for them. They need some variety, they need some inspiration, they need something new, something of a more complicated nature to get their dopamine hit for the job that they're doing. This is all entirely possible If at the very beginning you vet them through a trial period, 1 to 2 hours, of course you pay them for that time, but it's valuable research that you're putting in to know if you're a great fit for this people and if they're a great fit for you and your culture that you're trying to promote. Skills shortage, scarcity mindset, I understand it. And one easy solve for that is to bring someone in. Anyone will do, right? We've addressed this. No, not anyone will do. Someone who's committed to the cause, that's step number 1, is making sure that you vet them correctly. Step number 2 is continuing to train, continuing to encourage, continuing to be frank and honest about their performance. Whether you have weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly performance reviews, things like that really go a long way. You have in-house certifications. Sure, they can do their barista courses, they can do their chef courses, but you can create in-house certifications that build some form of hierarchy towards a specific goal and outcome, a KPI that you want. Now, if you're a chef manager or you're a venue manager, those kinds of KPIs have to do with sales and strategy and managing roster and keeping costs under control. These are normal business practices, and I see it time and time again where food cost isn't managed, where cost of goods isn't managed, where sales KPIs aren't even implemented. By having these things in play, you can, on a spreadsheet and in real time using something like Google Docs, to track what's going on. You can see whether there's a short-term downturn in your sales, and you can create a promotion. You can create a flow. If you need to sell more food, whatever the item may be, you can create a promotion. You can promote it online for free through social media, in YouTube, email marketing. You can encourage your chef to be more creative with the recipes that they put out based on customer needs through surveys. By not having these things in place, the staff turnover revolving door will continue to happen. You've got to meet the needs of your customers, but of course, as an owner and a manager, you've also got to meet the needs of your staff. Now, by having a frank conversation in the beginning, why are you perfect for this job, which I see a lot, which is great. And then of course, the response is always something positive towards why they can contribute to the business in a positive way, no problems. But what about a SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Have them self-analyze in that conversation where they tell you what they're good at, they tell you what they're not so good at, they tell you what they would be looking for in an opportunity within the business, and they can tell you what they would perceive as a threat to their existence within the business. And you can plan accordingly for that, put them in the right role. So if they're applying for a manager position, for example, but they're finding it difficult to talk to people, to give direction, to be direct in their information and their instruction of what needs to be done, that doesn't mean they're not a good fit for the manager role. That just means that they need some training. And if they're a good, trustworthy personality that you know won't steal from you, will do the hours, and is great at their job, well, to me, that is at least 75% of what it takes to become a good fit for a leadership role. You then have that trust in the individual with their character, and you can train them on how to be a good manager. There are so many resources online and in person through university, TAFE, short online courses for management skills and processes. Learning how to communicate is really good. And if you did that together, you'd be on the same page and you'd actually be moving forward in the same capacity as your staff. It's a win-win. So we've got the vetting process. We've got the training, which is ongoing and progressive. And the third thing, why this one is so pivotal is because it takes your business from just being a baseline, struggling business, trying to make enough revenue to pay your bills and your costs, and it moves it into a profitable business where now you're looking at optimal zones for expenditure and optimal zones for costs and optimal zones for how many customers you need per day and what they should be buying. This is really exciting stuff for those business-minded kind of people. And if you've done the vetting process right, say for a manager or a chef manager, these kinds of people get super excited about those kinds of details. Why? Because it can allow them to have a pay increase. So They come on board, they're a great fit for your business in terms of character and the nature of the job that they've got to perform. And now you're inviting them to take that baseline revenue goal and push it through into the next level. Because of that, they can envision that they might get some kind of commission, remuneration, or reward for hitting those targets. And in business, it does come down to the dollars. Without the dollars, you got no business. Without no dollars, you've got no staff, you've got no product, you've got no supply chain. You got to go get a job because the business will be dissolved. By having these targets, not only do you have the capacity to earn more money for yourself in the way of directors' fees and dividends, but also you're allowing people to progress their career. And if you support them in that progression, they'll reward you with loyalty. They won't take what you've given them and leave to go to a competitor. They'll take what you've given them, they'll make you money, make themselves money, and they'll stick around. Why? Because they know if they keep doing that they're going to get rewarded for it. That reward is a conversation you need to talk about. If they follow that quarterly pattern of reward each and every quarter for a number of years, maybe you go into partnership together. Now they have the chance to build profits and to have directors' fees and to have dividends of their own. This is a long-term game. The short-term revolving cycle of employment is something I see all too often. It's become the norm. But what would it take to create long-term business cultures that dominate the space? That same IBIS World report that I spoke of with the 4.1% growth annually for 5 years seems to me a little bit optimistic. Because why? There won't be enough staff to support that. Just because cafes are going to be open doesn't mean they'll be able to service the customers. And that same report, it also states that there are no major players in that industry, meaning no one's got the stronghold. It's up for grabs from anyone who's willing to do the work. And if you look at the problems of customers, which are, I want value for money, I want consistent product and service, and I want it in a timely manner, how is the best way to do that? By having a system that is consistent, does it every single time the same way. And if they do change it, how are they changing it? By improving it. I can't tell you any company outside of those corporations that can do this and scale it. I hope this is a little bit of a wake-up call, because if you innovate that vetting process, you innovate your in-house training process, reward cycles, you're looking at the chance to turn your $500,000 a year revenue business into $5 million a year revenue business. Now let's recap, because this has been a mouthful. Those 3 steps are coming at you right now. Number 1, hire rigorously in the ways that I've mentioned earlier tonight. Replace poor systems with high quality performance systems that are trackable and progressive. Figure out where people are at in their proficiency, whether it be communication, making a coffee, cooking food, organization, hygiene, cleanliness. Set KPIs, things to hit that all revolve around their progression. Give them an incentive, which could be, hey, you're going to get more hours with me if you put the time in for a casual staff member. Or, I'm going to promote you. Or, I'm going to give you a pay increase. But this is what you've got to do in order to earn it. Sacrifice the status quo. Just because you're an owner doesn't mean you know it all. In fact, nobody knows it all. So I'd invite you to do study of your own. Study your management style, study your leadership style. Try and figure out how to piece together the jigsaw puzzle, which is, to be technical, heterogeneous, which means all of the people in your environment, which is your workplace, they'll all think differently. They all have the same sense of outcome in that we want to get the job done fast, we're going to do it as best as I possibly want to, not necessarily can, and we're going to get paid for it. But we need cohesive workflow to get that consistent product out in the timely manner and make the revenue dollars. So overnight, you'll put these 3 steps together with your vetting, your training, and your rewards, and then you'll find that there's a lot of bugs. Well, that's when you do your own little analysis and you figure out what's going well, what's not going so well, and how can I adjust. Whether you need to do more training yourself, research, YouTube videos, whatever the case is, but go ahead and do it. And take that self-reflection from today and then put it into tomorrow. Inject the new information with the stuff. You go, hey guys, this is what I figured out based on yesterday's actions. I'd like to try something new. Let's go with this. Explain it to them, involve them in the process. Do you guys have any feedback or options or preferences as to how you'd like it to go? Use your information of their character and their nature and their proficiency and their skill sets to move forward, not to move backward. That's why the vetting process is so important, because when you change systems and structures for people, those who don't give a will not comply and they need to get out, and you need to replace them with someone who will go, all right, I understand we didn't perform so well. How can I perform better? You tell them how and they go, okay, let's do that. Let's try it out. And because it's an open communications sort of environment where if they've got a problem, they can come to you because you've rejigged the way that you communicate with your staff, then they're going to go, yes, I want that. I want to do it and I'm going to do it. From that, they put their best foot forward. They go, oh, it didn't work again. What else can we do? And they're constantly looking for the one up. Sure, making the same dishes or making the same coffees every single day and having the same conversations with the same people every single day can be boring. But the thing is that when you've got targets and goals, your behaviors have to change. And if those behaviors are changing, that breeds variety and that breeds new life into a stagnant, boring, mundane, routine business. So if you're finding your business is stagnant, mundane, or routine, take these 3 steps, put them into your business. And if you've currently got difficult team members who are rigid, you've got to have that honest conversation with them where you go, hey, I think we need to change things. And they might not like that. They may push back and you go, well, I see a future for you in our company where you've got more time freedom, less stress, some rewards. These are the kinds of rewards I'd like to give to you, but this is what it's going to take. And see what they do with it. They might be nice. You might have a lovely, friendly relationship, but if they don't want what you're putting out, you can't accept that. This is your business. This is your mortgage. This is your kids' education. This is their college fund. This is your future. This is your retirement fund. Are you really willing to put that all on the line because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings? Or you don't want to find out the truth that you don't work well enough together to get what you want out of life? For me, I'm not.